It's Weekly Weird News, and among the many unusual news trends we've seen in recent months is the high prevalence of stories involving bears, whether they're getting fat and killing each other, getting killed and giving the people who eat them brainworms, or getting killed and having their dead bodies unceremoniously dumped in New York City's Central Park by our incoming Secretary of Health and Human Services, who also happens to have a brainworm, although it's not clear that he got it from the bear.
Yeah, a lot of bear news.
And this week, bears back on the menu, boys. Not literally.
Okay.
Humankind may have successfully eradicated the grizzly bear from the U.S., except for a few small pockets in the Northwest, but black bears are still around in a lot of places, including here in Southern California. And it's not unusual for them to enter civilization looking for food or whatever and end up making a big old mess.
Yeah, they're just big lazy boys. They just want to eat whatever's the easiest thing possible. So when you hear about cars getting damaged by hungry, curious bears in some of the less urban areas of SoCal, especially a mountainous area like Lake Arrowhead, it's no surprise, and in fact, perfectly plausible. And for the more criminally minded folks out there, it presents a clever opportunity for doing a little bit of insurance fraud.
How devilish.
Here's the San Bernardino Sun. 4 Los Angeles area residents were arrested on Wednesday, November 13th on suspicion of insurance fraud and conspiracy after allegedly falsely claiming a bear got into their vehicles and damaged them. There was no bear. Rather, a person in a bear costume was seen in video footage provided with insurance claims. Dubbed Operation Bear Claw.
And we're eating them anyway. Might as well name this operation after.
Yeah. The California Department of Insurance began an investigation after an insurance company suspected fraud when the suspects, residents of Glendale and Valley Village, in January reported a bear had gotten into their Rolls-Royce Ghost in Lake Arrowhead.
Video footage was provided to the insurance company. The footage was reviewed by investigators who determined the video showed a person in a bear suit.
No, that's ridiculous. Who would do that? That's so stupid. That clearly you're not seeing the same video that we're seeing.
A biologist from the California Department of Wildlife also reviewed the footage, concurring with investigators that the footage, quote, was clearly a human in a bear suit, according to a news release from the Department of Insurance.
All right, stop. We got a biologist on the phone. I know you said that we were lying when we thought it was a guy in a bear suit.
Bring in the bear expert.
We look a fucking biologist. Yep, that's a guy in a suit. Anyways, back to my college I work at, I guess, or my lab.
It's always a joy. Doing what I do best, talking about bears.
Yeah.
After executing a search warrant, detectives found the bear costume in the home of the suspects. Oh, jeez.
Well, it was expensive. You might want to get a couple uses out of it.
Yeah. And let's pause here to get a look at that bear costume. Oh boy. I mean, listen, that does not look cheap, but it also does not look expensive enough to fool anyone who knows what a bear looks like. And it appears that for the claw marks, they used some of those barbecue claws that people use to tear up pulled pork.
Sure, why not? A cheap and easy solution. Yeah, could a fake bear do this?
It works on meat, it'll work on car seat.
Well, at first I was a bit suspicious. I thought that was a man in a bear costume. But after further analysis and the clear marks that were made by very real claws, I'm starting to question
Very real, very equidistant claws.
Hey, California Department of Insurance scam investigations, can you get your biologist on the phone?
We're gonna need to take some plaster casts of these claw marks.
Yeah. But hey, maybe on grainy security camera footage, the bear costume looked a little bit convincing. So let's turn it over to some local reporting from KTLA with that footage and some crime scene photos.
It didn't look like a bear to me.
Believable or barely believable. From afar, this surveillance video shows something or someone rummaging through a car. But if you look closer, it might just look like a bear. That's partially correct. It's actually someone wearing a bear costume accused of trying to get a hefty insurance payout.
What a bunch of knuckleheads.
Okay, so look, the bear costume did kinda sorta pull it off. Though the bodily movements and the amount of visible wrinkles, it just kind of gives it away.
Yeah, if it was stills, they could have gotten away with it. But the fact that that's a guy. It's moving like a person in a bear suit. There's a bear suit 2 sizes too large.
But you can never be too sure, and that's why you call the biologist.
Maybe it's a bear that recently went on Ozempic and it's got a little extra skin.
Yes. But
California bears, you know?
The claw marks are where they really fucked up. And it's not even just that they don't, at all, upon further inspection, resemble claw marks from a real bear claw. It's also that insurance companies know what it looks like when a bear gets into a car. And it's usually a bit more like this, where the whole interior is just absolutely torn to shreds.
Yeah, I remember as a kid going to Yosemite pretty often, and there was always someone who, it could have been maybe even just a loose like M&M that fell between the car seats. But if you had anything resembling food in your car, it would get broken into. And I saw many of these cars up close, and it was...
They can tear them apart like a
total
tin can.
fucking loss.
Yes. Oh yeah, no, he was just curious. He was just scraping at it lovingly.
And the damage to these cars, it looks like someone in a bear costume or not went in with the kitchen claws and just sort of scratched the seats a little bit.
I guess it's totaled. Can I have my money back
Yes.
for this irresponsible purchase, please? So yeah, these guys probably should have typed "car destroyed by bear" into Google Images to get a better idea of how to pull this off. But they're clearly not smart people that we're dealing with.
They thought they were, though. They probably thought this was genius.
Well, Elliot, now they have an excuse, because if they Googled that, you might get an AI-created image of a bear lightly scratching the side of a car.
yeah, that's true. They might ask Grok.
Yes.
Anyways, they were apparently so confident in this very stupid plan that they not only destroyed that Rolls Royce, but also multiple other cars. The investigation also revealed 2 other insurance claims made by the suspects at other insurance companies, citing the same date and location of loss and bear-related circumstances, with different vehicles, a Mercedes G63 AMG and a Mercedes E350. This is definitely unique, but we have seen through our cases that people will do a lot of things to try and get an undeserved insurance payout, said Allison Hensley, Deputy Press Secretary at the Department of Insurance. Photos provided by the department showed the reported damage, puncture and scratch marks on the interior doors and seats of the vehicles.
And what's especially bizarre is that this isn't the only story from just the past week about someone trying to blame a crime on a poor little bear.
An innocent bear.
The second story is a lot less fun than the first one because it involves a murderer trying to pin his crime on a bear. But it's similarly very poorly thought out. I also know of a guy who tried to pin a bike accident on a bear.
Yeah, leave the bears out of your schemes.
Yeah. Anyways, with more on the murderer who tried to pin it on a bear, here's NBC News. A man accused of murder after a 911 call about a fake bear attack in the mountains of Tennessee led authorities to a dead man last month has been found and arrested, police said Sunday. The arrest of Nicholas Wayne Hamlet, 45, in Columbia, South Carolina, ends a manhunt that was launched after the call late October 18th to 911 dispatchers in Monroe County. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office said it was informed Sunday that Hamlet, who had been sought on a first-degree murder warrant, was found and arrested in South Carolina. The case began when a man claiming to be Brandon Andrade called 911 and claimed that he was injured after he was chased by a bear and fell off a cliff, authorities have said. The call was pinged in the area of the Charles Hall Bridge on the Sharahola Skyway in Tellico Plains, a small mountain town in Tennessee with a population of about 800 people.
A body was found with an ID of Brandon Christopher Andrade, but it wasn't him, and Andrade's identity had been stolen and used multiple times, the sheriff's office said. The person also was not killed by a bear, officials said. Once detectives laid eyes on the body, the injuries that the deceased had was not consistent with a bear attack, was not consistent with a fall, Jones said at a news conference last month. The cause of death was found to be blunt force trauma to the head, he said. It was very easy to rule out, Jones said. A first-degree murder warrant was obtained against Hamlet after investigators determined that Hamlet, who was wanted on a parole violation out of Alabama, had been using the stolen identification before the body was found. The dead man was later identified as Stephen Douglas Lloyd, 34, who authorities have said Hamlet befriended during the summer, NBC affiliate WBIR of Knoxville reported.
So, yeah, definitely a much darker story than the insurance fraud one, but in both cases a bear was blamed for crimes that upon even the briefest inspection were definitely not caused by a bear. Though, at least for a second, in the murderer one, it was like, we've got bad news for you. Your alibi's toast. You see, the wounds, the way that man died, it wasn't caused by a bear. And then the guy stands up and goes, I know, I told you, the bear scared him and he jumped off a cliff. Aha. But
yeah, but he didn't fall off a cliff either. So
no, he didn't. But you could imagine what it would have been like if he did.
In our line of work, we have seen previous people who have fallen off cliffs. And yeah, that's not what happened.
You don't understand.
Sounds like someone just hit him in the back of the head.
He was so scared that he threw himself off the cliff and aimed right for his skull.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least the insurance fraudsters used kitchen claws. This guy just hit another guy on the head and then blamed it on a bear, with falling off a cliff added for no apparent reason, considering there'd be pretty obvious signs of that as well. So if you're gonna blame a bear for something you did, at least try and make it a bit more realistic and do something a bear would actually do. Steal a picnic basket. Drink an entire container of honey. Change the spelling of your surname ever so slightly, and then gaslight people about it and make them think that you're living in a parallel universe. Give someone a brainworm.
Yeah, these are all things that bears can and have done.
You know who would do really well in insurance fraud? That guy that turned himself into a dog in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one would question whether that was a border collie or not.
That's definitely a dog. Dog ate my car.
Yeah. You can see him gnawing on it right there.
Yeah. If that's a man in a dog suit, that's the most realistic version of that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's a real dog.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a crime you could never blame on a bear. Scamming people on the phone. It's a problem that's gotten so bad in recent years that most people simply refuse to answer phone calls unless they recognize the number on the caller ID. Governments seem incapable and unwilling to actually do anything about this to solve it, but luckily we've got folks like the YouTube scam baiter Kit Boga, who wastes these scammers' time for a living and produces some very entertaining content from it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, at least over in the UK, the Kit Boga model is being adopted by O2, the country's largest mobile carrier, who say that they've created an AI tool that basically pretends to be a confused old lady and wastes these scammers' time while generating a bunch of useful documentation about how these scammers operate.
You know what? I'll give it to him. This is a good use case for generative AI.
Uh-huh.
I gotta hand it to him this one time.
Sometimes it falls through the cracks.
Yeah.
Here's The Independent.
Phone giant O2 has created an AI tool that sounds like an elderly grandmother and will keep phone scammers on calls and away from the general public. The company said it had created the so-called scam baiter tool in response to research which found that 7 in 10 people wanted to get their own back on scammers, but did not want to waste their own time in doing so. The firm said it had worked with leading scam baiters, people who take on and disrupt scammer networks, to get phone numbers linked to its AI tool known as Daisy added to known lists used by scammers to target vulnerable consumers, and had been given the voice of an elderly grandmother to play on scammer biases about older people. It said the tool had been successful in keeping numerous scammers on calls for up to 40 minutes at a time and frustrated them with meandering stories and explanations about their tech use, as well as providing false personal information and made-up bank details. O2 said that by tricking fraudsters into thinking they were scamming a real person, Daisy has prevented them from targeting real victims, but had also exposed the common tactics used so the firm can help consumers better protect themselves.
I mean, 40 minutes is good, but Kit Boga has kept people on the phone for days.
Yeah, it's wild. It is funny that it's another Simpsons method. Tell them long, meandering stories that don't go anywhere.
So I tied an onion to my belt.
Which was the style at the time. Yeah, give me 3 Bs for a quarter, you'd say. This is so good. I can't even imagine. All I can think of is Kit Boga in my head. It was just like fat fingering the phone, typing it in wrong, giving out the code.
Oh, jeez. All right, it says to press enter here. No! Don't! You bitch! What?
And this is good because there's only so many Kit Bogas in the world. This kind of scales it. So
yeah, so I mean, we rarely have a reason to say this, but this is a great use of AI.
You get the seal of approval. It's a very rare seal of approval.
Not many people get that seal.
We don't hand this out to just anyone.
The more that the phone scammers are talking to a robot specifically designed to waste their time, the less they're going to be calling actual people. Of course, this probably goes both ways, and the scammers are certainly coming up with their own ways to use AI to make their jobs easier as well, but it's at least nice that someone is doing something to push back on this bullshit.
Yeah, that's the problem, though, is, again, as we've seen with so many things in modern technology, it's just going to end up being 2 robots talking to each other for literally no reason at that point.
Burning down the planet.
Just billowing smoke. Yeah.
Well.
But for now, this one's fun.
They're saying that they're going to run out of electricity for this AI shit in like 2 years.
Well, luckily, we're bringing back the nuclear.
Are we?
We'll see.
Anyways, in other international news, let's check in on our good friends, the people of Japan. A nation a lot of Westerners associate with samurai and ninjas, but which no longer has either of those things. But that doesn't mean you can't try and relive some of the glory. And for samurai, the glory was mostly about either dying in battle or committing ritual suicide to prevent capture by your enemies, or because you had brought shame upon yourself.
Thankfully, nobody wants to bring back seppuku, where you disembowel yourself with a tanto blade before an assistant partially decapitates you with a sword. But recently, a contest was announced in which competitors would simulate seppuku, and the one with the best acting skills would be crowned the winner. Unfortunately, though, you can't do seppuku anymore because of woke.
Yeah.
Here's the Straits Times. An outlandish contest daring participants to impersonate Japanese samurai writhing in pain after seppuku ritual suicide has been called off after criticism that it was in poor taste. Dubbed the Seppuku contest, the event was slated to take place in December in the western Japanese city of Matsui, formerly known as a feudal lord town. Let us see your amazing acting skills as you agonize for about a minute after slashing yourself in the belly with a plastic sword, read an advertisement in a local newspaper last week.
Whoever has shown us the most powerful performance will win the top prize, it added. But criticism of the event soon snowballed on social media, where some said death by self-disembowelment should not be treated as entertainment. I get this is a performance, but are they going to make a contest out of people dying in pain? One user commented on social media platform X. This feels like making fun of the act of seppuku itself. Another said they felt instinctively averse to the idea of death being made light of. The contest organizer, who gave only their surname, Ogawa, said on November 14th that the competition was canceled after receiving lots of feedback saying it is inappropriate. We thought this contest could help encourage some people to become actors or even create something new in the genre of bizarre festivals, the organizer said in an email. While they initially thought the event would be entertaining, the organizer added that seppuku was still largely associated with death and killing, and we feel sorry for causing trouble.
We're sorry. We just tried to have a little bit of fun. But the fun police had to go on X, the everything app, and tattle on all of us and complain to Elon. And now we got an international incident.
The woke mind virus.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Organizer, it would appear that you have brought great shame upon yourself and your nation's traditions. So, you know what to do.
Your tanto blade is right over here.
But in other international news, we recently covered an Indigenous politician in Australia rightfully yelling at King Charles during a royal visit, and now something similar, but even cooler, out of New Zealand. In terms of post-colonial nations where Europeans still make up a majority, New Zealand has done a relatively decent job grappling with its colonial past and giving the native Maori population a seat at the table culturally and politically. And it's become increasingly popular to refer to the country by its native name, Aotearoa. But the bar is, of course, very low, and there's still plenty of tension lurking under the surface. And this was put on marvelous display this week when the New Zealand Parliament descended into some beautiful chaos when the Chamber's Maori members reacted to a new bill that would reinterpret New Zealand's founding treaty with a ceremonial haka war dance.
Fuck yeah. I'm awake.
Yeah.
That woke me the fuck up. I mean, nowadays you mostly see the haka performed by New Zealand sports teams before a match, which is awesome. But seeing it in Parliament is a trip. It's way cooler than when our own politicians put on some kente cloth and take a knee.
What a bizarre photo in retrospect.
Yeah. The haka is sick. It's simultaneously both scarier and more dignified than the usual chaos you see when legislative sessions get out of hand around the world. Anyway, with more on what went down and why, here's the New York Times. The Treaty of Waitangi, signed by Maori chiefs and the British Crown in 1840, is considered New Zealand's founding document. It forms the basis of the laws and policies aimed at redressing historical wrongs against the Maori by colonizers. But a political party known as ACT, the most right-wing member in the Conservative coalition government, says it wants equal rights for all, and that special provisions for people based on their ethnic origin have been divisive for New Zealand society. This month, ACT introduced the bill, which experts say could severely damage race relations and undo decades of work aimed at redressing historical wrongs against the Maori people by colonizers. It has already stoked racial tensions in the country.
Maori make up roughly 20% of New Zealand's 5.3 million people. They experience material hardship, have worse health indicators, and are incarcerated at much higher rates than the population at large. Thousands of people protested the bill by marching across the nation to Wellington, the capital, this week, according to local media. The National Party, the main centre-right political party in New Zealand and the senior member of the governing coalition, has tried to distance itself from the bill. But party leaders had agreed to introduce the bill when they formed the alliance with ACT. Lawmakers voted to advance the bill on Thursday, but the legislation is unlikely to progress further or become law. You do not go and negate with a single stroke of a pen 184 years of debate and discussion with a bill that I think is very simplistic, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon told reporters on Thursday ahead of the first reading. Mr. Luxon, who belongs to the National Party, said he wanted the bill to be voted down in the second reading.
So, yeah, sounds like haka works, if you know what you're doing. You got to know what you're doing. These people, they knew what they were doing. Like the second she started with that, and I'm sure it was pre-planned to an extent, but there looked like there was a few Maoris in that session who maybe didn't get the memo, and like at first they're like, okay. And then they got the rhythm.
Yeah.
They started doing it was sick.
Yeah,
and the tongue stuff. That dude with the hat, he was my favorite. He really got into it. But moving on now to an update on a man who has definitely earned his spot in the ever-expanding Weekly Weird News Rogues Gallery. Bryan Johnson, the boy who tried to live forever. Now, most of us, if we managed to cash out hundreds of millions of dollars on a startup while still in our mid-30s, would use that immense wealth to go see the world and experience all it has to offer and never worry about anything ever again. But Brian Wilson chose a different, much less fun path where he willingly turned himself into a lab rat for every quack anti-aging treatment under the sun. And while he's arguably had some success, it's been at the cost of literally never doing anything except subject himself to those quack treatments and tell other people about them.
But hey, it's at least been entertaining to gawk at, and this week Bryan Johnson certainly gave us all something to gawk at when he revealed one treatment that went very, very wrong for him. So in an effort to make his face look a bit less gaunt, Johnson certainly got his wish, in a monkey paw sort of way, when his face ballooned up in a way where it actually kinda resembled the round, swollen face of a newborn baby, and then later shrunk back a bit to what we would describe as a botched attempt at a Chad Squidward.
Give me the Chad Squidward.
So definitely freakish behavior. Here's futurism.
But it is kind of like when we're talking about the penis stuff, I'm like, be careful, sir, because you might revert your penis into being a baby's dick. With this face thing, he literally looks like the way a newborn baby is, like all puffed up and like squinty and
yeah, he kind of looks
red.
like, you know those hyper-realistic flesh masks that they bring to horror conventions sometimes? They got one that looks like Trump and Putin and everything. There's a baby's head one, and it looks like this.
It would be so funny if he just reverted into an adult-sized baby.
Yeah. With all the same rights and responsibilities. Sit there, crap yourself, and don't say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's futurism.
In his extensive efforts to turn back the clock on his aging, 46-year-old youth-obsessed tech mogul Bryan Johnson injected his face with fat-derived extracellular matrix, and the results are even more grisly than one might expect. Selfies Johnson uploaded this week to Instagram show his face progressively getting puffier and puffier, resulting in a bizarre and swollen visage straight out of the 2024 horror sci-fi flick The Substance.
The tech mogul, who has previously used his son as a blood boy and spends roughly $2 million per year on dubious anti-aging treatments, claimed he was aiming to restore some fullness after losing a lot of fat due to caloric restriction. My biomarkers were improving, but I looked gaunt, wrote Johnson, who was previously an investor in futurism, but is no longer involved. People thought I was on the brink of death. But after starting what he called Project Babyface, success, which involved injecting donor fat, his face began to blow up. And then it got worse and worse and worse until I couldn't even see, he added. It was a severe allergic reaction.
Looks like he got stung by a bee.
Just bees all over.
Yeah.
And then later in the article, we get to some other news that's actually even more horrifying than what we just saw.
He put it on his dick.
No.
Oh.
There's also a chance we'll hear Johnson's name mentioned more frequently in the upcoming months. Last week, he posted a picture of himself standing next to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a fellow and truly unhinged health nut who's widely expected to take over the role of overseeing the Food and Drug Administration under Donald Trump's White House. Maha, he wrote in the caption of the photo, likely referring to Kennedy Jr.'s purported quest to make America healthy again.
Yeah, this guy's definitely going to be around more.
Secretary of Blood, Bryan Johnson.
Peter Thiel for sure, and I think Mark Andreessen are I know Peter Thiel is obsessed with living forever.
Yeah.
And so this guy kind of seems like the sacrificial lamb. He's just doing all of it to see what works.
He's only a centimillionaire.
Yeah.
He's not a billionaire like the rest of these guys, so he has to be the first. He's like the king's taster.
Yes.
He tries all these treatments, and then if they are successful, then Peter Thiel and Elon Musk will use them.
You thought you were using Blood Boys, when really you were the Blood Boy all along. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. But this is exciting because, like, you know, so many Gen Zers, it's like, oh God, I'm never going to be able to afford to own a house in this economy with these wages. But now you're going to be able to not only sell your blood the way you can now, but be a blood boy for a rich man.
Yeah. We're going to need a lot more Blood Boys in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Also, Elliot, another thing that will help, you say you'll never be able to buy a house in this economy. Well, good thing they're figuring out how to make people live forever. Yeah. So eventually you'll be able to. Everyone watching, if they put in a good 125 years of work.
Well, I would say counterpoint to that, they're not building any new housing. And one of the few ways that new housing opens up is when people die. So,
well, I got a couple spare rooms for the Blood Boys over at the mansion, over at Teal's mansion.
This is my Blood Boy room.
Yeah.
Make yourself comfortable.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got the headlines half of the show coming right up. But first, a word from this episode's sponsor, Factor. You notice how the days are shorter, but your to-do lists aren't? Power through your busy days with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. From breakfast to dinner and anything in between, Factor has easy, nutritious options to keep you fueled and feeling your best. Whether you like routine or you enjoy mixing things up, Factor has you covered with 35 different delicious meals every week and over 60 additional convenience options that you can add to your box, like keto cookies, pressed juices, and smoothies. Don't let shorter days slow you down. Stay energized with America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service.
Factor lets you do you. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. Because Factor's meals are chef-prepared and dietitian approved, you're gonna love not only how Factor's meals taste, but also how they support your goals. And Factor is cheaper than takeout and dining out, so you can put that extra cash that you save towards holiday shopping. There's no sacrificing quality for convenience with Factor. Weekly menus offer ways to treat yourself to a restaurant-like meal experience with gourmet plus dishes that feature premium proteins and seasonal sides like broccolini, leeks, and asparagus. How does truffle butter filet mignon or garlic herb roasted barramundi sound? Mouth-watering, right?
My mouth is watering.
It can be yours in 2 minutes flat.
Stay on your A game with quality ingredients you can trust and quality you can taste in every one of Factor's fresh, never frozen meals. Use your time more efficiently. So important during these dark months. Let Factor take shopping, prepping, cooking, and cleaning up off your daily list of things to do. Join Factor today. Head to factormeals.com/weeklyweird50 and use code weeklyweird50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month. That's code weeklyweird50 at factormeals.com/weeklyweird50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
All right, thank you for sponsoring the show. Now let's get into the weirdest, craziest, wildest stories from around the world this week, starting with
Elon Musk's AI turns on him, labels him one of the most significant spreaders of misinformation on X.
Grok is going to get punished behind the scenes.
Grok has been very, very disloyal.
We need to fix Grok.
Someone literally just asked Grok, like, who's the biggest spreader of misinformation on X? And Grok replied with, it wasn't even a short response. It was a very wordy, very detailed response. It said that Elon is responsible for more misinformation on his platform than anyone else.
First, his real children disown him, and now his AI chatbot.
Yep.
@2 chatbot, @2 Grok.
And soon, his surrogate father,
Yeah.
Donald Trump, will also abandon him.
That's right.
He's so weird, always jumping. Very little bit gay.
the fact that he, or someone in his orbit, at his behest, I'm sure, had Grok create the image of him looking like Andrew Dice Clay with the gold chains and the Doge and all that. It's just clearly a man who hates himself, hates the way he looks.
He just wants to be cool.
Yeah. He's got a weird body, folks. He's got a weird body.
Anyway,
He's not
join
proud of
Blue
it.
Sky.
Yeah.
It's the party is heating up over on Blue Sky, and I'm sure it makes Elon very sad. And that's like, half the reason I'm there is because like, oh wow, a social network that doesn't suck. But the other half is definitely, whoa, wow, Elon Musk is going to be very sad.
You can tell that it's actually crossed a certain threshold because it's turning X into more of an echo chamber than it even was before. And you're starting to see
They don't
cranks joining Blue Sky.
Yeah, well, because their whole reason to exist.
They want someone to fight.
Yeah, that's like so much of conservatism is just like oppositional defiant disorder.
Yeah.
And so when they don't have other people to bother,
If they don't have enemies,
they're
then-
like, what is the point of this?
Yeah. So, conveniently though, people have made wonderful little shortcuts on
Yeah.
Blue Sky where you can just immediately block any of those people.
Yep.
Yep.
Join Blue Sky. We're on there.
It's great.
I have officially stopped posting on Twitter. I'll still like retweet stuff, but I'm not going to be posting anymore over there.
All right.
I'm telling you, I'm
All
done.
right.
I'm
All
done.
right.
I switched between the apps and like my feed on Blue Sky is just so much better.
So good. So good.
Anyways, next headline.
Red Lobster CEO says endless shrimp is never coming back because I know how to do math. This
Yeah.
is such a weird PR thing because like Red Lobster went bankrupt, or didn't they? They closed a bunch of stores. They blamed it all on this endless shrimp thing, which cost them a few $1 million when they were in the hole like $1 billion.
It was just the most obvious money losing thing about their business, but yeah, it sounds like they made many more serious business mistakes. It's just very easy to point to a company that has gone bankrupt and say,
the shrimp.
You're really advertising the hell out of this endless shrimp package. Maybe what if the shrimp wasn't endless? But
I don't know if anyone connected the dots ever fully, but there was a story going around about how the company that owned Red Lobster at the time, or they still do.
They got bought by like the seafood version of like Bain Capital, where they were just bleeding them dry.
They got bought by like the shrimp kings of Asia.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that they had a seemingly endless supply of shrimp that they could have used.
The thing about shrimp or anything on this beautiful planet, the only planet we have, is nothing is endless. Definitely not shrimp.
They farm shrimp.
They do, but I don't know if the farm shrimp, are they as good?
I would say that once it's drenched in butter at the Red Lobster, that it would probably be hard to tell the difference between that and anything else.
I guess the shrimp you're getting unlimited at Red Lobster, you're not. It doesn't really matter. You're right. Smuggler caught with hundreds of tarantulas strapped to body.
Was he smuggling the tarantulas, or was that a unfortunate side effect?
That's just my fetish. I like having all these tarantulas strapped to me because you haven't lived until you felt all those little hands. Just
the Great Awakening was the scene in Home Alone where he puts it on Marv's
your
face.
body. Oh God! Oh, all of those tarantula legs moving all at once.
Yeah.
No, this was some Korean dude who was down in Peru, I think, and I guess tarantulas fetch a pretty penny back in Korea, and down in Peru, they're pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he just like, I'm assuming he must have like drugged them or something, but they were just sort of like in little bags that he taped to his body, and it was hundreds of tarantulas. They were doing the post bust like photo op, and it was just like a table covered in Tupperware containers with tarantulas in them.
Well, I guess it's better than having them all over your entire body touching it.
Yeah, It's weird because like tarantulas are obviously more scary than other spiders in many ways, but I think they're also like less scary than other spiders in some ways, mostly through the fact that if a tarantula's around, you're seeing that tarantula. If a tarantula is like 50 feet away and you see it and it crosses your peripheral vision, you can see that tarantula.
Yeah.
Whereas the smaller spiders, they can sneak up on you.
Yeah.
They can get real
You
close
put your hand
without
in
you
the wrong place,
noticing.
you
Yeah.
get a little bite.
Like I'm not
I think also
there's not
that
a tarantula hiding in my fucking shoe when I slip my foot in it.
Well, it could be, I guess. But
I
I don't
guess.
think they are very aggressive towards humans.
They're not. And I don't think they're
And
venomous either.
I don't think they're. But it would still suck to get bitten by one.
Yeah, or just like have one around.
My
I don't
cousin
think-
had one when I was growing up.
They're
I didn't
just-
like it very much.
They're horrifying creatures.
Yeah, I never.
All spiders are.
They are, but I've come to terms with most of them. They keep the bugs away.
Yeah.
They're mostly
The
harmless.
coolest ones I've recently found are when I started growing shit in my yard. They're called like jumping spiders. They're a garden spider that eats a lot of pests
There you go.
in your garden, and they look crazy. They look like they're fucking dangerous, but they're not at all. And when you look at them, they follow you, like very conspicuously.
Smart spider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of smuggling, cigarette smuggler caught trying to cross river disguised as a water plant.
What?
He's crossing a river in South America, somewhere into Argentina.
Dressed as an industrial-sized municipal water
No.
filtration plant?
Like a plant.
Yes, I
A
get it.
a living a plant.
Yeah, like a lily pad.
Yeah, he was in like a wetsuit with like a snorkel and had a big water plant like strapped to his back. And
This is Bugs Bunny behavior.
yeah, a boat passed by, and I guess he was moving too fast because they're like, there's no current right now, and that thing's hauling ass. Let's shine a light on that. Wait, is that a guy? Is that a big?
Did they just put their finger over the snorkel?
I would hope so. But yeah, he had a shitload of cigarettes. Curious. I mean, he was trying to bring them into Argentina, which obviously has an economy that is not doing great, but also has never been doing great. So,
Seems risky for cigarettes to be going through the water like that.
yeah. I mean, it seems like I don't know. Yeah, I guess the hyperinflation. Well, he had them wrapped in plastic.
yeah.
He wasn't just dragging loosies in the lake. Here you go.
Yeah, thanks. Leaked emails reveal scale of Swedish minister's banana phobia. Okay.
Yeah, she's scared of bananas. She doesn't want to be near them. Anyway, anytime she goes anywhere for like a meeting or appearance, the email's sent ahead. Well, they're always like, she's actually like highly allergic to bananas, but it comes out that no, she just has a weird phobia of them, doesn't want to see them, doesn't want to smell them, definitely doesn't want to eat them.
Back in the 90s, you'd get to go on Maury because of this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is a weird thing. The only other example
Bring out the bananas!
there was like that guy on Jackass who was super grossed out by mustard.
Yeah.
Like it was the worst thing in the world to him.
God, I can't remember his name. It's
Rob himself or one of those guys. One of the secondary characters. And I knew a guy in college who had a similar thing to this lady, but with oranges.
It's weird.
He wouldn't eat anything even remotely orange flavored. And even like if you had an orange and tried to put it close to him, he would freak the fuck out. This has to be tied to some sort of like childhood trauma. Because otherwise
Maybe.
it doesn't make sense.
I don't know. You don't have any phobias? You're not scared of anything? Any phobias?
I mean, I'm afraid of like heights.
Yeah.
Like if I'm really high up and I look down, I get like dizzy and like my palms start sweating. But I think that's
Like a
pretty
natural
normal. Yeah.
I got the submechanophobia bothers me.
What?
You know how they have like the window that you can look at the propeller of the Queen Mary and it's underwater, but it's this giant mechanical
yeah.
thing. That stuff freaks me out.
I mean, it makes me uncomfortable.
Like lighthouses or whatever, or buoys. Even buoys out there in the water.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I kind of have megalophobia of just scared of gigantic things.
Yeah.
I went to the Jim Henson Studios last weekend for they do this improv show called Puppet Up. Highly entertaining. But it's on a soundstage, like where they make their movies and shit. And on the back of the soundstage, they have a pair of Muppet eyes that are about 20 feet across, like in the shadows. So you barely see them. They're just, but you look back there and you're like, oh, there is a like 300-foot Godzilla-sized Muppet, like hiding behind the wall, peeking in.
Yeah.
And that did kind of freak me
Yeah,
out.
Attack on Titan from Muppets.
Yeah, it's a Muppet Titan.
Well, put your favorite phobia in the comments below.
Yeah, list your phobias below. Easier for students to come out as gay than Christian, evangelical group says. They would say that, wouldn't they?
It's just so hard being a Christian in today's America. It's just so hard.
This is one of those things where I'm sure there is some truth to what they're saying. Also, this is like an Irish group, or this is in Northern Ireland, so this not talking about us, although I've definitely throughout my life heard American Christian groups make the same claim. But I think it probably has less to do with the students coming out as Christian as the way that they come out as Christian, which I can guarantee you is almost always in the form of calling someone else a bad person and a sinner.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing to just be like, oh, by the way, I'm Christian. Like, okay, cool. Okay. By the way, I'm Christian, and what you're doing means you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fuck you then.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Wow, it's so hard I bet if I told you that I was gay, you'd give me a hug.
It's similar to like, people are like, oh, there's so much discrimination against conservatives. It's like, no, you people are just fucking annoying, and I don't want to like talk to you or be around you.
Yes.
It's really, like, there's all this, again, with the blue sky, like people are just blocking MAGA idiots on site, and there's this whole stupid fucking conversation now with multiple columns about like, wow, like the left just doesn't want to engage with the other side's ideas. And it's like, no, we know what their ideas are. We just think they suck, and we don't think it's a good use of our fucking time.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Simple as that. Woman discovers needle left in vagina during childbirth after 18 years of pain.
Oh, boy.
Yikes. That sucks.
Yeah. Well, at least, I mean, imagine the relief.
Yeah.
That's the silver lining here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess this is in Thailand, and I think this woman's from like a poor area, poor background. So it's not, all these years, it's not like she could just go to her doctor and ask for an x-ray or whatever. But yeah, they found it. And then even after they found it, they're like, it is kind of just loose in there. So we need to come up with a plan for actually getting it out, because like if it shows up over here one week and we get you back in here next week, it might not be there, and we might be cutting into you for no reason.
You know what? Just go home and don't worry about it. You've lived this long with it.
Yeah.
What's another 18 years?
Jesus Christ.
No, get this thing out of me.
I mean, this is bad for her, but I'm honestly, any man who's been in there, that's like, they must have either narrowly avoided a really bad time, or maybe they did have a bad time, and she's like, this is why I can't keep a boyfriend. This is why my husband won't even look at me.
No response to that. So she's cheating on her husband then with some random guy.
Well, I don't know. Maybe she got divorced. We don't know her background. We just know she has a needle in her vagina.
And Elliot wants nothing to do with it.
No way. It's like dentata, but like almost, well, not worse, but it's bad. Well, it's scary. I don't like it.
I'm sure she didn't either.
First monkeys, now emus. Officials confirm multiple emus on the run in South Carolina.
What is going on? We need to shut South Carolina down until we figure this all out.
Yep.
What has been going on? Is there also an island for emus that this testing facility also has a contract with the government for?
Alpha Genesis?
Yeah.
I don't know. No, this is just, they say multiple, it's two emus, escaped from like a farm.
Yeah, but they say that they are untrained and dangerous.
You can't train an emu.
Yeah, so there you go.
I mean, honestly, I'd be much more scared to encounter emus just randomly than encounter some macaque monkeys, because an emu can fuck you up.
Yeah.
Look at those feet.
Okay.
They're like dinosaurs.
30 to 50 rhesus macaque monkeys or 2 emus.
Monkeys.
Yeah.
I'm going with the monkeys.
There's a shark, a big hungry shark, 10 feet away from the boat with an electric motor. The boat has an electric motor. The shark's right there. The boat's sinking. Mm-hmm. And you're going to tell me I can get shocked or deal with the shark? I'm taking the boat every time.
Yeah. And now he gets to take the boat every time.
Yep, because he's the big wet president.
Have you driven past I think it's either ostriches or emus up near Solvang?
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. You're just driving on the highway. Yeah, in Buellton, you're driving on the highway, and it's like there's 500 fucking emus off the side of the road.
Sometimes they're running real fast.
Yeah, they're scary.
Yeah,
they're very. If you see them in pictures, and you're like, what? No big deal. And you see them in real life, they're like 8 feet tall.
It's like a big fist that you have no idea where it's going. It can just get you right in the face. I don't like it because I feel like I'm gonna get my eyes pecked out.
Yeah, no way. I'll take.
And look at me, I got 2 eyes.
I choose the monkeys every day.
Every time.
Man who turned up outside Parliament in armor carrying samurai swords wanted to speak with Boris Johnson.
You're not going to try to duel him, are you?
Listen, I'm just here to talk to Boris.
Yeah.
That's all.
Just a little
Don't let the body armor and the samurai... I guess it was just modern body armor. I was picturing a full samurai armor outfit.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that would have been cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, if
He
I
was
was
just wearing like a Kevlar vest.
if I was Boris Johnson, I would have at least come to the door and taken a peek.
Oh, what's all this then?
But it was just some like fucking Kevlar from the internet.
Yeah, dumb.
But I'm curious what he wanted to talk to him about and why he needed some swords and some armor to do it.
Yeah. A duel.
I think maybe they're just like, he's not the prime minister anymore. He's like, oh, okay, bye.
Oh.
Well, then get me Liz Truss. No, she's not the prime
Well, then
minister.
give me the head of lettuce.
Then get me Rishi Sunak.
Uh-huh. Not gonna work.
Then get me Keir Starmer. That's not a real name. I'm just going to go home.
Norwegian fisherman accidentally caught U.S. sub in net.
It happens.
Yeah, I guess so.
Wow. Real big catch down there.
Mm-hmm.
The fish do be fishing.
Yeah.
They probably thought, oh God, it's fishing these days. It's such an uncertain business.
Whoa,
Sometimes you catch it, sometimes you don't.
We got a big one.
It's like dragging the ship.
Yeah.
And it was just a U.S. submarine doing some exercises up with the Norwegian Navy,
Okay.
and they had to cut they had to cut the net.
So
But
sad.
the U.S. Navy did say they'll pay for a new net because those are not cheap.
Nuh-uh, not with my tax dollars. You're
I
on
don't
your own,
think so.
Norway.
Elon Musk will make sure those Norwegian fishermen get nothing.
Not very efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's our episode.
Woo!
Please, of course, as always, many of you have done it already, but if not, like the damn video.
Yeah.
Please.
Start liking the video. Do it early and often.
Yeah.
And make sure you leave a comment below. Talk about anything we talked about today. Put your favorite phobia down below.
Yeah, list your favorite phobia.
And don't forget, we got these coming out in less than a week. The 22nd at 3 p.m.
Yeah, we'll leave a link. There's a
Yeah.
website where
You can win one.
before it goes on sale, you can do something to basically sign up.
We had
To
them put
maybe
them on
get
the,
a free one.
The correct side, even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, all the websites on this box are real.
Wow.
And don't lead you to pornography.
Meatspin.com.
Nope. That's just the prototype. We made sure they removed the link to Meatspin from
Yeah.
the final product.
There you go. So check out all the links, check out our sponsors, leave a like, leave a comment, and please, if you want to check out our most recent videos, they're going to be popping up right now. We got Meatwad himself, RFK Jr., who's now in charge of your health, and also the rest of Trump's cabinet. Great videos for you to watch. Enjoy yourself. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.